What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time, we're going to be taking a look at Vice, directed by Adam McKay, starring Christian Bale, Amy Adams, and Sam Rockwell. Okay, so Vice tells a story about Dick Cheney. We see the rise of Dick Cheney in his early political career, and it goes all the way down through his association with George Bush, and all the events that took place during that presidential reign, which is where Dick Cheney became a more prominent figure and a more recognizable name. So I'm going to try and make this review very short and very sweet. I'm not somebody who's going to bring politics and his political views into this review because, quite frankly, I don't have none. Which is why it's easy for me to look at things from a very objective perspective without having to take any sides. So this movie is very political heavy, and whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you're going to look at this and you are going to feel some type of way. But since I'm looking at this from a neutral standpoint, and just looking at this as a movie, I can honestly say that I was thoroughly entertained by Vice as a film. I thought Christian Bale as Dick Cheney was fantastic. As usual, Christian Bale submerges himself into a role and he completely gets lost within said role. Now, obviously, you'll know it's Christian Bale because he has one of those recognizable faces and recognizable voices. But you can clearly tell that he did his research and that he just dove right into his role as Dick Cheney, because you can clearly tell that he is doing his best to play Dick Cheney spot on, and he captures it beautifully. I like the. I thought Christian Bale was, to me, is the only guy who could play Dick Cheney on film. I thought he did a fantastic job, very good performance. Amy Adams plays Cheney's wife, Lenny. She does very well for herself. I like the chemistry between Adams and Bale. I thought they worked off really well with one another. This, of course, is their second time for me seeing these two in the movies, as they have previously acted off one another in The Fighter. So they already have a chemistry coming on from that movie onto this, and I like them. They work really well off one another. I like their scenes. Sam Rockwell plays George W. Bush, and I thought Rockwell as George Bush did a great job. Rockwell does not come into the second half of this movie, which is where the good chunk of this movie does happen. Like the first half of this movie kind of glosses over, Dick Cheney's early political career, and it pretty much just speeds right on through to the Bush administration, which is again, that is where Cheney is a more recognizable that's where his work is much more recognizable, and that's where he got more into the public eye. It was with his association with George Bush, and I thought Rockwell and Bale have a really good, funny chemistry with one another. I like Rockwell as George Bush. I thought he was hilarious in the role. I thought he fit it like a glove. I like the comedic bantering that goes on between Bush and Rockwell. I thought they played really well with one another. I also like, Cheney's bantering with his supporting cast. You got Steve Carell, who plays Rumsfeld, who was an associate of Cheney during his early political career, and then of course they get together again when Cheney gets elected, when Cheney becomes Bush's vice president. I like Carell as Rumsfeld. I thought Carell and Bale had a lot of funny, good bits with one another. I thought they played off really well. So yeah, overall, from an acting standpoint, this movie is spot on. I thought all the performances were fantastic. All the actors fit their roles great. The story, again, it glosses over Cheney's early political career because the main focus of Cheney, like I've stated over and over again, is the stuff that happened with George Bush. And we see what happened. We don't really know what really happened behind closed doors once the towers went down during 9/11. But this movie gives us an approximation of what could have happened. And we see the behind the scenes works on that. We see just how heavily involved Cheney was behind the scenes when 9/11 happened and when everything in between went down. We see how he handled everything. We see how he pretty much manipulated everything. Cheney is a very cunning man when it comes to this. And of course, there's also a subplot where Cheney suffers from multiple heart attacks, which is what leads to his heart transplant at the end of the movie, and what happened to him in real life. So yeah, the movie kind of covers all the big beats with Cheney himself, which is fine for what it is. It's good. I thought Adam McKay as a writer did a good job. This movie has a lot of comedic bits to it. This movie's like a black comedy. It's a political satire black comedy. To me, that is, because it has a lot of funny moments. It has a lot of really funny moments in it, It has a lot of satirical bits in it. I mean, I can't really classify it as a serious movie because it's not really all that serious of a movie. It's kind of poking fun at certain things here and there. Like I said, if you're a right wing or a left wing, you're gonna view this in whatever type of way. I really don't know, and quite honestly, I really don't care. Politics never interested me. I don't mind watching movies that deal with politics, but in terms of following them in real life, I have no interest. So yeah, I mean, overall as a whole, I thought Vice is an extremely entertaining movie. The performances work. Like I said, a lot of Chaney's story gets really glossed over. So in my opinion, we don't really get to know how he was as a person in his early career. We get bits and pieces of it. We kind of have an understanding of it, but I think knowing more about Chaney's origin would have added a little bit more to his character instead of just glossing over it just to get to the juicy stuff, which was his stuff with George Bush. It's unfortunate that's what he's known for, because there was a lot. I think there was because he had an association. He was a Secretary of State, Chief of Staff, stuff like that. And again, a lot of those roles get glossed over in this movie because it goes right to his vice presidency. So yeah, as a whole, drop stuff left and right. I mean, and this movie, of course, deals with other things as well. It deals with Cheney grappling with the fact of his daughter being gay and his stance on that. Cheney being a Republican, which means he's a conservative, but he has a gay daughter. So you see how he deals with that sort of thing and stuff like that. So all those relationships are handled perfectly. Not perfectly, but they're handled fine for what it was. So yeah, I know this review has been all over the place, but I just wanted to really rush this out. Overall, Vice gets a 8 out of 10 for me. Story is good. The actors are great. And yeah, don't really have a whole lot to say about this movie. So yeah, 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. If you've seen it, let me know in the comment section down below. And yeah, see you next time.